So which newspaper outed Stephen Gately as gay? The answer is The Sun.
It turns out, according to the Mallorcan coroner, the singer had had a dodgy ticker and died from a heart attack which led to fluid being found on his lungs. If the papers really had spoken to a family friend, they'd have known that heart problems were in his genes, as his family has a history of pulmonary disease. So did the papers do Stephen Gately a misjustice? Do they have anything to apologise for? Does the reporting have a whiff of homophobia about it? I'm going to start off by defending the papers here by saying enormous pressure to come in with some kind of explanation for something that seemed inexplicable, and a lot of them were using local Mallorcan press and Spanish press as a source. Doesn't make it right getting these things wrong. Gail, what do you think? You know Stephen well.
I think the whole thing is disgusting. I think they do owe an apology, and it's just sensationalism, and it's you know, you know, it's horrible reading all these things, and like you say, and then 8-hour binging and everything else. He had a heart problem, and I think it's just disgusting. And I don't care where they're getting all this family friend nonsense from. Well, you know what it's like working in papers. They just pick up anybody's quotes. But I think it's horrible, and I think they do owe an apology.
OK, Mark?
I think any newspaper, anything that puts out the wrong facts, owes people an apology. And I imagine that the first rule at journalism school is get your facts straight.
But it's how you play the facts, isn't it? You know, that 8-hour booze-a-thon, right, means that someone goes out, in reality, because I used to do it when I worked on The Sun and The Mirror, it means you go out for a drink, just like the people in the papers do, for 8 hours. It doesn't... to me, you know, the way it's phrased suggests something more than it may have been. And Andrew, the civil partner, said, you know, we've had much wilder notes. It wasn't that kind of an evening. The choking on their own vomit, well, the police officers found there was fluid in his lungs. They may have made that conclusion. Did the press do anything wrong in reporting it?
Yeah, because it's inaccurate. They didn't know the facts. They've just picked up on little bits and pieces here, there and everywhere, and they're wrong, and they should apologise.
OK. And a whiff of homophobia about any of it?
I don't know. I think it's a dreadful story. It's really sad for Stephen and his family and the band and all their fans.
Can you imagine what Stephen's family must have felt reading some of these reports? Not nice.
No,
not nice at all.
It's not nice at all. And
I can't imagine they'd have done it for example, any soldiers, for example, who they wouldn't have said, you know, he went out on duty after, you know, 8 hours of drinking or anything else like that. You know, maybe they think it's OK when it's a pop star.
No, I think Gail is absolutely right. It is fairly disgusting. On the other hand, we're all inquisitive, and I heard the news when I was going in to be interviewed on a radio station by actually Stephen's lawyer on Sunday morning, and immediately you start to think, how, why, whatever.
I had everything. I had the death jokes being texted to me, people phoning up saying, do you think it was drugs? All of these kind of things. Everybody wants to know. Doesn't mean it's right to feed them stuff.
No, it's not. As you said, they need a story, and...
It's right. It's not news, it's gossip.
It's gossip, yeah.
And you can't have gossip on the front page of your paper. Surely. I don't know.
Well, it depends
maybe you can.
on what your paper is, and depends on how your paper is regarded.
Yes.
And I think it says a lot about the papers, not a lot about Stephen or the facts or this sad situation.
OK. Let's throw it open to you. Do you think the press has anything to apologise for? Kirsty, what do people say?
They're agreeing with you lot. Linda's on line 1.
Morning, Linda.
Morning, Matthew.
So what do you think?
Well, I don't think it's right at all. I think the media should apologise to the Stephen's family. The same thing happened with myself. My brother is 22. He died in his sleep. And so I know exactly how his family are feeling at this moment. And we had to put up with a lot of gossip, all because it's a young lad, no cause, you know, went to sleep and just died. People, oh, it's drugs, it's alcohol. Apart from, you know, when this happened now with Stephen on Saturday, it brought back a lot of bad memories for myself and my family. And it was just like reliving it all again. And I think what they should do first off is, it can happen. People don't realise it can happen.
Great tragedy, Linda, is it? I think it happens quite often. It's happened to some of my friends. 2 now have died. One in the sleep, one from a brain hemorrhage, just standing up, fell over, that was the end of him. No, it does happen.
Yeah, and I think people... I mean, I think, you know, everybody's inquisitive inquisitive. I mean, I probably was inquisitive myself before it happened to us. And when you actually go through that and you realise how hurtful it is, you're not only grieving for the person that you've lost. I had a daughter, my eldest daughter was 5 years younger than my brother, and she was going to school then, and all her friends saying, "Oh, did your uncle die of a drugs overdose?"
Yeah, you see, this
And
is...
it's bad. And
But then, Linda, you know, if that's what people are like in the real world, can you actually blame the press for, if you like, reflecting that? You know, they've taken sources from Mallorcan police, the Mallorcan press, and from the Spanish press.
Yeah.
I don't think they're sitting there in a bar. There's no evidence from what I've read that they're sitting in a bar just making it up. They're doing the best, and they're just reporting the information that comes to them.
I can understand them reporting, but I think they really should just sort of like wait until they get a bit more information.
Right, but it's, you know, if a pop star dies in the early hours of Sunday morning and you have a paper to put out on Monday morning and no one knows what's gone on,
yeah.
God, I'm trying to think this put the right way. The temptation, the expectation on you to come up with something is so great that you will take whatever source is there. And if it's the police saying, "Oh, we think he's died on his choked on his own vomit," you're going to report that.
I can understand that that the papers need to sell, but I think also what they should do is they should take into account the grief and the shock of his family.
OK, I hear you. That it's kind of the way this story is told.
Yeah, yeah.
OK, thank you. Let's have another.
Tom, and he's on line 2.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Matthew.
Morning. What do you think, sir?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of... I think a lot of what I was going to say has already been touched
That's OK.
on.
Say it again.
But what it is that I think the papers, they're bound to speculate. I mean, it's like asking a fox not to eat chickens. It's bound to happen. I think also there's another point that did cross my mind, which I don't know if I'm fair in saying it, so smack me down if I'm wrong, but I think the Spanish authorities were a bit slow in actually getting to the bottom of it.
No, well, he died early hours of Sunday. Catholic country, I imagine not a lot happens. Coroner's inquest delivered on Tuesday. It's not...
Yeah, I mean, what happened Monday?
Yeah, the bank holiday.
Bank holiday.
Was it manana?
Very sympathetic. Thanks, Tom. Let's have another.
Alex is on line 5.
Alex, good morning.
Hi there.
What do you think of the coverage?
Well, I just wanted to say that it's just standard behaviour, really, for tabloid newspaper thing. It takes a post-mortem to sort of prove them, to actually to sort of talk about an apology. They have to sort of actually have a scientific examination to actually say, no, you were wrong. But I think this type of stuff gets printed every day, and that's the business they're in, like you're saying, isn't it? I mean, they are in the business of selling...
You say that, Alex.
and making profit.
I'm not so sure, because if you go back to 10 years ago to when Stephen came out in The Sun, it was handled, I think, incredibly well, very sensitively, in a paper that wasn't exactly famous for promoting sort of gay rights or anything, and I think they did a good job, and I thought then maybe we turned a corner.
But I think that at the time, they still would have been doing that to sell papers and to look like they were doing it in that type of manner. I don't think that still would have been for their own ends.
What about do you think that we all have a collective responsibility because we buy these papers?
Definitely.
So
we have a responsibility to take it in context and know that what you're reading in those papers, you should not be recounting as genuine information at all. You need to. I mean, it's very difficult to get genuine media anyway, but there are so many channels that you've really got to try and balance what you read. But I mean, people shouldn't expect anything less of the tabloid newspapers. I mean, it's just like last when Italian hero World Cup winner Fabio Cannavaro got stung by a bee. He has a drug which he announces that everyone's had, and he fails a doping test. Then he's actually proven he's guilty in the papers before he's even had the doping test, and he's a hero. It doesn't matter whoever we hold in whatever esteem, doesn't matter who are, we're still willing to ruin them in a tabloid newspaper just to sell them,
right,
and I think that's just normal behaviour for them.
OK, sir, thank you. Let's have another.
Cello actually knew Stephen, and he's on line 3.
Stella, good morning.
Hello.
Hi there. So you're a friend of Stephen's, yeah?
I was a fan,
Okay.
but obviously got to know him really well over the years.
Yeah.
So.
And so what's your take on it?
Apology? I think so. You know, it's such a tragic situation, and if you think about the way it was portrayed, you know, it's embarrassing. to the friends and family that, you know...
I think it's more than embarrassing. I think, you know, if I was related to Stephen, and I know Stephen a bit, I mean, you know, he liked a good time, but, you know, that was no reason to suggest... To make so many suggestions and allusions, I think I would be offended, actually.
Exactly, because everyone knew what a genuine person he was. You know, he was the nicest man I've ever got to know, you know, and, you know, the way it was portrayed, you know, the front pages will never say now, you know, that it was a natural death. You know, we only see the front pages that said that it was this, that and the other, you know.
And to be fair, what we've got today is some very nice testimony from Louis Walsh. The Sun, Louis, I've lost my very, very best friend. The Mirror, my grief for sweet Stephen. And to be fair to the Mirror, they have got Star died from fluid on his lungs. They don't add, unlike the vomit we were telling you about on Monday. But other than that, they're slightly more on the case today. Cello, thank you. OK, after the break...